Hi again, everyone. I'm Jeff for Swish 710 Bowling, and I'm here with another bowling ball review. And today we're going to be taking a look at Track's new high-end ball called the Archetype. There's a lot of cool things about this ball, so let's take a look. First, the cover is the same cover that was on the Track Paragon, which a lot of people loved because that ball really picked up. But it's the core that makes this ball really interesting. The RG is 2.518, and that's a little higher than you'd see on most high-end big hook monster balls. You can see this thing is hugely dull out of the box. I drilled it with the pin above my ring finger. But this higher RG is a little different. It gets the ball to push a little bit. And take a look at that when we go through some of the shots that I threw. You can see I drilled this ball 50 by 4 5/8 by 30. Just a typical pin above your ring finger kind of build with the mass bias kicked out just a little bit. So as I said, the core on this ball has a little bit higher RG, and I'm bowling on a house shot that's fresh, but it's not heavy oiled. It's not super dry either. It's just a typical medium house shot. So I tried playing right, and as you can see, this ball just wants to grab. I mean, look at it. It's hugely dull. It's got a strong core, a strong cover. It really wants to hook. So it forced me in a little bit. But the interesting thing that I noted when I did move in was how well this ball kind of floated a little bit. Like, it surprised me. I expected this ball to just rev out of the building off my hand. And you can see off my hand it revs a lot, but it gets about midway, right about that 30, 35, 40 foot mark. And it kind of looks like it lopes a little bit. The core kind of transitioned from rev, 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 rev to lope right there. And then it just flips, turns over, and makes this one of the more angular, dull bowling balls that I've thrown in quite some time. It's a really interesting combination because usually you want a big heavy hook monster ball that just grabs, it digs, you use it on heavy oil, you're happy because the ball just hooks instantly and you can get the ball to read on heavy oil conditions. But when the lanes break down a little bit, then you can start getting into trouble because the ball just reads so early, it forces you left a little too early. And because of that, maybe the ball just bleeds out too much of its energy too quickly. And that's usually not a good mix. But with the Archetype, it lets you, A, stay right a little longer because it does want to lope down the lane a little bit. So even when you dry the mid lane out a little, it's still going to be able to just push a little bit. I mean, it's still going to hook back. It's not going to hook back that much. I mean, no ball on the planet was coming back from there. But it lets you play a little right, a little longer. And when you move in like I did, it now lets the ball save some energy. So if you do need to kind of bend the ball, curve the ball, cover a lot of boards, you're not ending up with a dull ball that just dies when it hits the pins. Because that's the trade-off, right? You get a ball that's a big hook monster. It hooks really early, reads really early, but it hits the pins and you flat 10 over and over and over, and then you just have to put the ball away. But with the Archetype, you get a ball that's actually kind of saving its energy a little bit when it gets to the mid lane. And I mean, you're not going to be able to use this forever when you move left, but at least it might buy you some time. And that's really important because how many times have you thrown, especially on house shots today, they tend to get really over under. How many times have you thrown a ball that you look really good and then all of a sudden on 4 in a row, it just hooks early out of nowhere? This ball, that big 4 that you leave might instead be something like a 4-pin or a 9-pin or something you can make. So I'm just going to compare it one shot to the Paragon Hybrid, and you can see obviously the Paragon Hybrid goes a lot longer, but it does make that same shape in the back where it kind of lopes right at the end and then just turns over and rolls really forward. So the Archetype does the same kind of thing, just in a big duller package, and I think that's really cool. Let's talk about my closing thoughts for the Track Archetype. First of all, obviously, this is a huge hook monster of a bowling ball. This is going at the top of your arsenal. You're going to be using this on heavier volumes, fresher patterns, anything where you really need the ball to dig, grab, bite. The Track Archetype is a ball you should be looking at. Second, For a ball that does that, this thing saves energy pretty well. It's probably due to that higher RG. It gets it to get down the lane a little better than most of these big sponge oil monsters do. So it still needs oil, but it gives you an opportunity to think a little bit outside the box, because the archetype can do things that other big heavy oil balls might not necessarily be able to do, because it does save energy a little better. Like, for instance, you can play fifth arrow fade backs, that kind of thing. Also, if you're a low speed or a low rev player and you're looking for a ball for heavier oil, sometimes these big, huge hook monsters force you a little too far left than you might generally be comfortable with. But because the archetype does seem to go a little bit longer because of the higher RG, this can help you stay in your comfort zone a little bit longer. And I think that's important for people who don't necessarily like to move in. I know a lot of bowlers that they just don't put a lot on the ball. They throw it kind of slower. And they just don't like moving left. They're not comfortable with it because they're just not used to it. The archetype is a heavy oil ball that can keep you in the part of the lane that you like a little bit longer, and I think that actually does have a lot of value to it. That brings me to the end of my ball review for the new Track Archetype. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you like my content. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm, and you can opt into notifications for when more of my videos come online. Until next time, we'll see you later.